Once the drafting team has outlined scenarios, circulated a policy paper and consulted stakeholders, it's time to select the best option and get down to drafting. Effective urban law should be implementable, administratively open, fair and impartial, clear, coherent, comprehensive and certain. Let's deal with each of these criteria in turn, starting with implementability. We've stressed this all along because there's no point drafting a law that addresses lots of concerns on paper but cannot be implemented because capacity is limited, there's no political will, or it's just plain unrealistic about human behavior. Prepare an implementation plan before the draft law enters the parliamentary process. It should include strategies to inform stakeholders about the law and the date that it will come into effect. Prepare all the materials needed to implement the new law. Use public communication in all the relevant languages to deepen understanding of the new law. Train officials, professionals, local politicians and community-based organizations. Deploy additional resources to areas where implementation will be difficult. Develop and disseminate practical manuals and guides for officials and users. Support local governments to apply the new law in service delivery, in infrastructure investment, property-based taxes and community development. Secondly, you need to draft the law to promote administrative openness, fairness and impartiality. The law should ensure that due consideration is given before a decision is made that could have adverse consequences, especially if this involves people losing land or being forced to move. Hearings need to be conducted in accordance with recognized principles of administrative justice. So decisions must be made based on clearly specified criteria. Reasons for decisions must be given promptly if requested, and compensation has to be paid on time and in full when relevant. There have to be proper internal checks to ensure that officials carry out their duties well, and allegations of misconduct must be independently and thoroughly investigated. Thirdly, the law needs to be clear. Use language simple enough for lay people to understand, and define technical legal terms and phrases. This applies to structure as well. In England, for instance, there are more than 17,000 pages of urban law dealing with various town and country planning matters, scattered over 45 acts and thousands of pages of regulations. This is neither efficient nor just, and is certainly an international example not to follow. Fourth, the draft law should be coherent and logically structured. For example, principles and rules must appear before outlining exact procedural steps. There's also a bigger challenge to ensure that the draft law fits with existing formal, informal and customary law. Even though it's difficult, new laws have to provide specific points of intersection between urban law and customary law that at least provide principles to guide decision makers. There's a lot of scope to innovate and test new ideas for managing this enduring characteristic of many African cities. Fifth, the law should be complete and consistent. All matters on a topic should be dealt with in the same law. This isn't always straightforward. Law that's too ambitious and tries to regulate more issues than there's capacity for often fails. You don't have to address every single possible set of circumstances, but you do need to join up the different parts of the law in ways that make sense. Finally, law should provide certainty. Who does the law address? What are they allowed to do? And how should they do it? What's prohibited? What are the consequences for non-compliance? Try to balance certainty against flexibility within carefully regulated parameters to ensure you don't give officials discretion that can encourage abuse.